Emperor Jerknov not only had a harem, but he also had dozens of illegitimate kids already. The reason for all of this is simple. Rather than leaving his throne to the eldest son, Jerknov wants to legitimize the smartest and most capable among his kids. He is also the only character in isekai that I know that not only has a harem, but uses it the way it was intended, instead of just wondering what the half-undressed women want from him. Demiurge is at first glance a devilish smart demon, and incredibly devious and calculating, so many Overlord fans initially speculated that he might betray Ainz Ooal Gown one day. But Demiurge was created by Ulbert Elaine Odell in an attempt to mirror Ainz Ooal Gown's own Overlord character, which Ulbert admired, and this feeling of admiration and inspiration has deeply imprinted on Demiurge, who is absolutely loyal to Ainz, to the point that he wishes he would have been created by the Overlord himself. So if someone will betray Ainz, it will most likely be Albedo, or maybe Eclair. Ainz Ooal Gown, the Overlord of the Great Tomb of Nezarec, and Aqua, the goddess of water from Konosuba, both know the same spell, Turn Undead. Although Ainz can't cast it, it is still present in his very world as well. This is due to the fact that both Overlord, Konosuba, and many other fantasy universes took heavy inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons, from creatures to spells or attacks. Many things are inspired by D&D, and many writers were veteran Dungeons and Dragons players. So the parallels are not really surprising. While both Naboral Gamma and Solution Epsilon can be seen as the most evil of the Pleiades battlemates, since their karma value is -400, meaning they are capable of great cruelty. Once a month, the werewolf or lycanthrope Lupus Regina Beta surpasses both of them. But sadly we never have seen Lupus Regina in her werewolf form or what she can do while in it. If Zeshi Zetsumai, who currently is held as a prisoner in the Great Tomb of Nezarec, becomes an ally of Ainz, for example like Nea Baraya, she, as the Elf King's daughter, could take over the Elf Kingdom and rule it as its queen. She would then enter the sphere of influence of the Sorcerer Kingdom and receive aid to rebuild the war-torn nation, while the undead forces of Ainz Ooal Gown would pacify the dangerous beasts, thus also normalizing the presence of a foreign military force, and of undead soldiers within the elf nation itself, making it a puppet state just like the Empire of Baharut already is, while vastly improving the safety and living conditions for its inhabitants. Zeshi Zetsumai and Irmina are half-elves, and a theory states that the Elf King has fathered Irmina, was disappointed with her, essentially abandoned her, and later made Zeshi. But while Irmina is older than Zeshi and both are half-elves, this alone might not be enough for a potential connection. Irmina would hardly have wandered all the way from the Forest of Ivasha to the Empire, which is heavily prejudiced against half-elves, when the city-state alliance of Karnasus, who is much more tolerant, is nearby. Overlord is a unique and compelling anime series that offers a fresh take on the fantasy and isekai genre, and has a lot of mates, richly detailed worlds, complex characters, and explorations of themes like power and morality. We follow the story of the Overlord instead of the OP hero who are going to take him down, and we are being offered an alternative point of view of the hero's journey, the Overlord's conquest. All while we get something that most stories, even masterpieces like Lord of the Rings, can't illustrate: the struggles, problems, hopes, anxieties, and dreams of Ainz Ooal Gown, the very Overlord of the series, and again lots of mates. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to... Life in the Sorcerer Kingdom is, despite the rather grim and dark nature of Overlord's story, really good, with the undead doing repetitive manual labor, like farming or mining. The remaining labor is not only easier to do, but since there are now more resources available and more food on the markets, everyone enjoys a comparatively higher standard of living, and with so many undead security around, physical safety is almost a guarantee, and monsters were all eradicated on the territory of the Sorcerer Kingdom. Even the justice system is very effective, since the undead interrogate everyone by simply using mind control to make them tell the truth. Zashi Zetsumai, despite being clearly superior to her father's power, was never sent out to kill him, despite the war with the Elf Kingdom being fought for well over a century. And the reason for the restraint of Slain is that they feared sending out a godkin, a descendant of the 6 great gods, aka of the 6 players that had founded the theocracy, would have been seen as such a grave transgression by Platinum Dragonlord that he himself might have enacted retribution against Slain, perhaps destroying the entire nation. So they only sent out Zashi when Platinum had bigger things to worry about, aka the Sorcerer Kingdom's attack on Rhea's ties. Mare is not only a level 100 floor guardian, but also a pretty good duelist, and yet still, when fighting against Zashi, even after already dealing a massive amount of damage to Zashi during his fight, Mare did not kill Zashi with his strongest attack, and the reason for this is not that Mare tried to capture Zashi or that he held himself back, but that Zashi, with her comparatively high level and excellent day-effected armor, was indeed able to withstand Mare's energy ray, known as Petit Catastrophe, which normally would have finished the fight. Tanking Mare's strongest extremely mana-intensive attack and yet live is an incredible feat, and therefore Mare had also acknowledged her strength. Fearing Platinum's wrath, the Theocracy of Slain did not send Zashi Zetsumai out to kill her father, the Elf King, despite being at war with the Elf Kingdom for over a century. Only after Platinum was busy dealing with Ainz Ooal Gown and the invasion of Rhea's Teeth did Slain dare sending out Zashi. But if Zashi had just killed the Elf King, Platinum would probably not have intervened, but be actually delighted, since the Elf King is a descendant of the 8 great kings, the very players that had annihilated almost all of dragonkind, likely including Platinum's own mother. So the death of a direct descendant of these players would likely have greatly pleased the player-hating Platinum. Renner is on the same level as Demiurge and Albedo when it comes to things like tactics and strategies. All 3 of them are genius level advisors, and just like Albedo and Demiurge, Renner, despite being from the New World and therefore technically not bound by the same loyalty mechanics that normally NPCs have, she too failed to see through Ainz' facade as an overlord, while Ainz was fighting Climb, and still thinks of him as a very scary and brilliant overlord, one she really has to dedicate herself to in order to not endanger her newfound position and love life.